right, welcome everyone. Kick off here in a second. All right, good afternoon, everyone. If you are thinking about getting your PMI RMP certification, you probably have questions. And if you have questions, you probably have a lot of them. Luckily, I have some answers. And I know that you have a lot of questions because I get a lot of them all the time. So today I'm going to answer the 10 most common questions that I hear about the RMP certification all the time. These are the same questions I get asked over and over. So I am really looking forward to jumping into this. This is the first time I've ever gone live on any platform ever. So bear with me if there are any hiccups, and if they are, let me know down in the chat if you can't hear me or if there are any problems in the process. Honestly though, like I said, I'm just excited to do this, connect with you all real time and figure out how this works. So, if you haven't already, please connect with me on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are not joining in from, because this is going out on LinkedIn and YouTube at this point. And if you have not, definitely joined my email list. I am going to throw some links down to those in the comments so you can find me in those locations. Again, I know some of you I am with on YouTube, some I am in LinkedIn, and some that I am in, you've probably heard from my email list. So go ahead, connect with me on the other side of the house so that way we all continue to learn from each other. So for those who are just catching this right now, I am Russ Parker. I am the bearded PM. Also, some people call it the bearded risk PM, since I like to talk about risk management. I am a project manager in the financial sector. I am a retired U.S. Marine Corps officer with 20 years of service, and I run 44 Risk PM LLC, where I teach, coach, and mentor new and aspiring project managers, project risk managers, and project leaders in earning their certifications and growing in their careers. So I have really been focused on teaching PMP and RMP, two certifications that I hold on top of several others. So that's a little bit about me, about what I'm doing, and let's get into the actual questions. So again, few people emailed me, few people messaged me some questions. They pretty much aligned with what I have found are the top 10 questions that people generally have around the RMP, because the PMP is popular. You can go anywhere and find information about the PMP, but the RMP is not as popular when it comes to the information that's out there. So I'm definitely trying to make sure that people know what's available. So before we dive in though, I just want to ask, if you're watching this, you're probably experiencing some challenges if you are thinking about getting the RMP. You're probably overwhelmed with some of the conflicting information out there on it. You're unsure if the investment is worth it for your career. You're struggling to find some quality, up-to-date study materials, or you're unsure if you even qualify to take it. Maybe you're even struggling with risk management in your organization right now. You have projects going sideways, risks popping up left and right that no one saw coming, and you need to figure that out. Or maybe you just know that risk management is important. You just don't know what to do about it. You don't have a system, you don't have frameworks, you're just winging it day to day. If any of that sounds familiar, you're in the right spot. because I know what you actually want to do is gain some clarity on the certification right now. You need a clear roadmap to follow on how to get there, not just scattered videos that are sitting out there in the outer webs of the internet. And you want to stand out as a risk expert in your organization, because with the confidence that you can gain with the PMI RMP, you can do all of that. You can become better at risk management, the risk management subject matter expert, and just overall able to implement this better in your organizations. And that is exactly what my goal is with 44 Risk PM and with teaching this RMP material. So, does any of that resonate with you? If so, please let me know down in the chat if that does, if any of that makes sense to you, if that's where you want to go in your career. All right. So now it's time to just, take this seriously, really focus on what the RMP is. Now, before I get into that too, I definitely want you to know is why do we even want to consider the RMP right now? Well, if anyone's looked at the PMBOK 8th edition, just came out recently. If you haven't read it yet or looked into it, phenomenal document. Get it on Amazon. I got to pick up a copy this year or this past November at PMI Global. And in it, risk management has been elevated to its own performance domain, which is huge for risk management. Risk is no longer just buried in the knowledge areas. It's front and center as a core discipline of project management. And the PMBOK 8 has had the largest insights and submissions from the community as a whole. So the recommendation to put risk at where it's at and elevate it means that the industry is telling us that risk is mattering more than ever. So let me tell you a quick story of why I take risk management so seriously. Why do I care so much about risk? And it all really goes back to the time when I was a lieutenant in the Marine Corps. I was preparing for a deployment to Afghanistan, and I was tasked to support a rifle range, not like a qualification range, but a shooting range. And I needed to develop a plan. I had like a month and a half to get it done. But on top of that, I had tons of other things I had to get done in the process. So I called up a buddy who had run it already. I took his plan. I did a control find, copy, replace, took his name out of it, took his unit's name out of it, threw my name in it, submitted it, and thought nothing of it. All the coordination was really done. At the end of the day, I thought I was good. Until a couple days before the range, I got a call from my lieutenant colonel that said, "Russ, I need you down in my office right now." Never good when a lieutenant colonel is calling a lieutenant, telling him to come to his office. And when I got there, he proceeded to chew me out beyond belief. And that is because in that order that I had put together for my unit to go do this shoot, I talked about how you needed to make sure you had plenty of water and that you were eating a good meal the night before, and all these different areas in that risk management section on how to make sure that the next day at the range, you were okay and you were able to survive. Well, the problem was that risk management section and all the information, all the details and the response plans was for hot weather. My range was running in December. So here it is, December, and we're about to go into a cold spell, and I have heat mitigation in my risk management. So he quickly realized that I had not wrote that order. And because I didn't write that order, he started questioning my leadership, my capability. I had a platoon of 30 Marines that I was taking to Afghanistan in a few months. And because I was taking them to Afghanistan, now he's questioning, can I even do the job? If I can't take a simple range seriously, can I take serious when I get overseas into a combat situation where my job is, as the lieutenant, as the platoon commander, to do risk management? Risk management wasn't just paperwork for me. It couldn't be a check in the box. It was the foundation of making sure that my Marines got the training and got the information that they needed to survive. And that's why risk management became critical for me in my career, and something that I've learned to just fully embrace as a Marine and now as a project manager. And my big revelation I had along the way is that mastering risk management, and for us, project risk management, is the differentiator between a good project manager and great project leaders. And it's more accessible and it's more capable to learn these days than you probably think. And that's what I want to prove to you today as I go through the next, again, top 10 questions. Again, if you have any questions yourself, just throw them into the chat. And in there, I will be able to answer those throughout, or at the end, I will cover down on any extra questions that I don't go through. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you two different things. One is a mini course on the roadmap to the RMP. This maps out exactly how to go from interested to certified, and it shows you all the information. It is free. I will throw the link in the comments once we get to that point. Then I will also show you how to get access to my own little community that I just started up here in 2026. Literally just opened the door within the past week and a half. That'll give you direct access to me, and also you can find other resources when it comes to the RMP within there, when it comes to exams, quizzes, and just other resources to help you study. So stick around. Let's dive into the top 10 questions that I get around the risk management professional certification. So first one is the certification worth it? So this is by far the most common question that I get, and easily within my eyes, the answer is yes. I did a YouTube video talking about this, and the real question, the real talk around the value sometimes is around the cost, the investment that you have to make. So the cost of the exam is $520 or $670, depending on your membership status with PMI. Plus, you have to do training materials. So altogether, you're paying anywhere from $900 to $1,500 total to get some quality education out there. But the question usually turns around, what's the ROI? What is your return on investment with the money that you spend for the RMP? What are you actually, what are you actually getting? And for me, when I get that question and I talk to people about that, I tell them, what are you looking for? So I turn the question back to you. So if that is what you're thinking about, I'm asking, what do you need? If it's just money, then your ROI is going to depend on a few different things. Really, it's your organization's risk maturity, or wherever you're trying to work, their risk maturity. Also, the sector that you're working in. What industry are you actually in? Because if it's high risk, like the defense departments or pharmaceuticals, construction, they're going to lean a little more on that risk management side. And that'll give you an opportunity for salary bumps. But for a lot of people, and for you, the RMP is about gaining a new skill set. Again, within project management, going back to PMBOK elevating risk management. The PMBOK 8, elevating. So it shows whenever you earn this, you become more helpful, impactful to your organization. So this is more on that personal side, investment side, where you're actually learning to tackle these new problems that most people try to avoid. Most people just, they look at risk and they're like, I can kind of deal with it, but they don't. So being the person who sees the problems, the opportunities before they happen, and you're actually able to take advantage of them, or you're able to capitalize, you're able to respond to them accordingly, becoming the subject matter expert for your team, your department, your organization, the RMP in turn makes you invaluable. And when you show it works, that ROI that we talked about earlier about money, if that's your main goal, then that usually comes with it once you start showing how valuable you are and how much expertise you have in this, in the fact that where a lot of people are challenged, you're able to actually focus in and do things the right way. So is the PMI RMP actually worth it? It's up to you. It depends on what you're trying to do. For me, yes, I think it is the most valuable certification out there beyond the PMP for you to get. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking on that? Or on a scale of like 1 to 10, what are your thoughts on, where would you put yourself in getting the RMP right now? Throw it in the chat, and also throw in there, but 1 to 10, but then also put, are you focused on the money or the personal investment or professional investment, you could say too, in becoming a better project manager in general? Let me know. And while we do that, I'm going to jump into some eligibility requirements, question number 2. And before that, I just saw someone, hope you're feeling better today. Yes. And like I said, yesterday I wanted to jump on. I couldn't get to it. I don't know if I would have made it all throughout the entire presentation. Like I said, I had some kind of stomach bug. It was knocking me out all day. Wouldn't have been enjoyable for you or me. So today I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you. So eligibility requirements for the RMP trips people up all the time because there's 3 paths to actually get there. And if you don't have access to the RMP exam content outline, this is a great resource to help look at this, because it is different than the PMP, right? So you have 3 different paths that you can look down when it gets to earning your RMP. I'm going to try to pull up this. All right, so you see we have 3 different areas. You have Path A, which is your secondary high school diploma. You have a 4-year degree, and then you have the GAC accredited program. These are the 3 different pathways that you can take to get your RMP. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. There we go. Okay. So these are the 3 different paths. So the first path, the high school or associate's degree, requires 36 months of risk management experience. On top of that, you need 40 contact hours of education, which I want to call out that 40 number. You can see as we get down, you need 30 contact hours for the other paths. So again, this is unlike the PMP. The PMP, it's 35 hours across the board, no matter what level of education that you have. For the RMP, if you don't have a 4-year degree or a GAC accredited program, you need 40 hours. The other ones, you need 30. So that is critical in your journey towards earning the RMP. So the second path, obviously, is the 4-year degree, it says there, where you need 24 months of risk management experience. And the third is the GAC accredited program. You need 12 months experience. So all your experience level within these areas needs to be in the last 5 years. Again, it's a little different than the PMP. And the training, in the training you conduct and the experience that you have has to be specialized in risk management. This can't be general PM education. So if you take a PMP course, a lot of times you're going to cover risk management, but you cannot count that risk management work into this you can't count your PMP exam prep course towards this. You can count the 2 hours you covered risk management out of those 35 hours, but you need to take specialized risk management education. And again, with your experience needs to be specifically specialized within the area of risk management. So if you ran a project for 6 months, you can only count the times that you were actually doing risk management specific work. So again, that's critical that you need to think about when you're applying for this exam. And then when it comes to the contact hours, I do offer a 30-hour RMP exam prep course to help you get those hours. My course is taught using PMI's material as an ATP and hits everything PMI is actually going to test you on. In my honest opinion, one of the hardest parts around the RMP right now, the reason why a lot of people are having so many problems with this certification is the quality of education that sits out there. A lot of material is outdated or it's not well put together. And I know because I am a weird person. I've taken 6 different RMP exam prep courses throughout the past 3 years as I'm searching for that best information out there. So trust me, I'll tell you right now, the material that PMI's put together is a lot better than anything you're going to find on Udemy and other platforms. They're the ones who write the RMP. Therefore, they're going to be the ones with the best information. All right. So let's get back. Stop sharing here. Again, this is my first time this live thing, so I'm learning how to play with this. All right. So in question 3, how hard is the RMP? This is definitely one that I love. And in my honest opinion, I will tell you right now, it is hard. Myself and people I've talked to that have taken it agree it is actually harder than the PMP. Why? Well, it has a more narrow focus than the PMP, meaning they go deep into risk management. The exam is 115 questions in 2.5 hours, which is 65 questions less than the PMP and 80 less minutes. But it's narrower focus. Each question is around some aspect of risk management. So they hit risk management from every different angle. And unlike the PMP, which is trying to get through all the domains, everything in project management, all within 180 questions, to where risk management, maybe 2 to 5 questions. The RMP is 115 questions specialized around risk management. So it is, in my eyes, it was a lot harder than the PMP, but at the same time, it was more zoned in. So again, it's no different than the PMP, where it's all about application, not about memorization, and definitely can't get around definitions. It's going to cover topics that the PMP might address, but not really go over in detail, like quantitative risk analysis, Monte Carlo, getting a little deeper with EMV, in other aspects that risk management is critical. It revolves around. And I'm not saying all this to scare you, but to mentally prepare you if you're actually going to get the certification. This is not a gimme of any exam. You need to understand risk management deeply because it is a specialized exam. And PMI puts in the work to ensure if you pass, you can uphold the certification and what it's all about in your organization. And being that risk professional, that risk subject matter expert in your organization. Again, I don't say this to discourage you. I say this because I want you to take it seriously. And the good thing is, you're only a coach away from tackling the risk management professional certification. The exam is hard, but it's not impossible. I had a student just pass it last week, and she said, all the information we present in the course was put her on the right path, got her mindset in the right way when she sat for that exam. So again, not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to let you know it is a rough exam, but it's only hard, it's going to be especially hard if you underestimate it. So, which gets us into what should you study then to make the RMP easier? And this is a great question because, again, this differs highly from the PMP. Going back to the exam content outline, hopefully you've downloaded a copy yourself. If you switch over towards the end of it, you will see an area that says reference materials. So with the reference materials, this is where we get different from the PMP. Because in here, you will see, and yes, you have the risk management portfolios, programs, projects, a guide to the PMBOK guide, right? These are areas that we all know. They're going to be in there. But unlike the PMP, there are recommended books for your studying. Are they required? Do you have to read them to pass? No. But these books are going to help you out tremendously. I wish I had read these books before taking the exam. So right now, the two that I always recommend to people whenever they talk to me are the first two actually on this list. So Hilson and Simon's Project Risk Management, the ADAM methodology, and Tom Kendrick's Identifying and Managing Project Risk. These two books are phenomenal reads. I know I would recommend you don't try to get the audiobook version. I tried that. Not going to work out for you. You have to go old school with these. You have to read them. Just throwing that one out there. They're not the entertainment versions. I would not put these on a road trip unless you're just weird and you enjoy this material as much as I do. So again, these books are highly valuable. These are going to help you fill in any gaps that you have when it comes to risk management. So again, critical for you to understand, what do you need to study? What do you need to know? You need to know your PMBOK. You need to know the risk management, portfolios, programs, projects, a practice guide. Those are two critical elements, but these books influence it as well. So definitely jump into all of those and you will be set overall. So see the question right there. What helped her pass the exam aside from taking my course? Her and I are talking hopefully next week to get through that. But she said that it was the practice exams, it was the questions that really helped her to push along. And the way that I teach how to do that, she did tell me it did help her. And when I talk about practice exams, are the practice exams that I do provide with my RMP course. So question 5 that I do yet all the time is RMP versus PMP. Which should you get first? So I did a video on YouTube when it came to the ACP with this, because I get that question a lot. But for the RMP, you don't need the PMP to take the RMP. But if you don't have the PMP, you're not going to have the strong foundation that the RMP is built around. The ACP is all about agile project management, right? The PMP covers agile, so therefore the PMP helps you for the ACP. But the RMP, in my eyes, assumes that you actually understand and you have a foundational knowledge in project management fundamentals. Meaning that if you don't have the PMP, the RMP is going to be really eye-opening for you. But if you have your PMP, the RMP is a phenomenal next step for you. Because the PMBOK is a part of the RMP. Within the exam content outline, if you went over, I'm trying to remember what domain it was. There's a domain where it let's see here. Let's pull this up here. See if I can find it right here. Which one is it? I'm going to find it. Stick with me here. This is very critical. This is actually a critical thing and something that is eye-opening. Here. Risk identification, task 2. Categorize assumption and constraints, right? That's one of them. Another one is, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me right now. All right, I'm not seeing it, but there's basically right here. There you go. Domain 1, task 2, right here. Conduct stakeholder analysis. So on the RMP, you very well can see information or questions that don't look like risk management questions, because it is addressing within the exam content outline that you need to understand your stakeholders. So which gets back to, if you have the PMP, it's going to be a little easier there. But it's just, this is something dangerous, and this is why the exam content outline is so critical for the RMP. You need to understand the different components, what's in here. So knowing risk management alone is going to help you, but the PMP is going to help you, double major. It's going to help you with the approaches and get some depth before you get that specialization within risk management. Which gets into, how long do you want to study for? Again, this depends on your background. The PMP, 4 to 8 weeks minimum for a lot of people, with 60 to 80, if you're studying an hour and a half a day. If you don't have the PMP, you're going to need at least 8 to 12 weeks, and you're going to need 100 to 120 hours. You're going to need a lot more time, because you need to understand the fundamentals of project management to understand risk management as well. But if you have the PMP, an hour or two focused study is going to get you exactly what you need. All right. So what's on the exam? Again, we talked about the exam content outline. You have the 5 domains that are sitting within risk management. Risk strategy and planning, which makes up 22% of your exam. Risk identification, which is 23%. Risk analysis, another 23%. Risk analysis, we're talking about qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. Risk response, which is 13%, and monitor and close risks, 19% of your exam. Again, these are what are within that exam content outline. And I can't stress it enough that you need to understand the exam content outline for the RMP. I teach the PMP. The PMP, you can get around really diving deep in the exam content outline. I think there's tons of information, tons of resources out there. They are pretty much giving you what's in there. The RMP, you're not going to be prepared for the exam if you can't go line by line through that exam content outline and explain what each line of those elements are. If you can't tell me why focusing stakeholders on creating a culture of risk awareness, if you can't explain that, then you're not ready for the exam and you need to focus on that area. And this is definitely something I go over with a lot of individuals on the RMP and the exam content outline. I can definitely dive deeper into that. So number 8, can you take the exam online? Yes. This is something I know a lot of people do. You still have the 2 options, just like the PMP. You can go to a testing center or you can do it online proctored at home. Online is open 24/7. Testing center, you're in the testing center hours. Taking that is up to you. Personally, I don't think I'd ever take one of these exams at home. I will only take them at testing centers. But again, I know people have succeeded while taking it at home. So when it comes to where you take these, it is no different than the PMP and the RMP, where on where you actually take the exam. What are the best practice exams and simulators? Question 9 that I get. Practice questions are crucial for this exam, just like the PMP. 2 that I recommend everyone. First one is the PMI study hall. It's $49. You get 1 full exam, 3 mini exams. You get daily emails. Those daily emails are awesome. I have that on my phone right now. I play with it. I love the daily quizzes. It really helps me challenge and keep up with the whole risk management piece. There's also an application called Pocket Prep. This one's a little cheaper, around $17 to $21 a month, depending on the length of how long you want to subscribe to the application. Not as hard of questions, but it's definitely a good intro. My recommendation to a lot of people, start with Pocket Prep, get it for a month, stick with it, then move over to the PMI study hall. This allows you to progress up to actual PMI level questions. And then if you really want some extra practice exam, there's a $99 exam for the RMP from PMI. So those are definitely the resources I recommend, in that you make sure that if you go with anyone else that you are using scenario-based questions, make sure that it's aligned to the 2022 exam content outline, the one that I dropped in the chat, because I've seen a lot of practice questions sitting out there, a lot of practice exams that are not aligned properly. Again, if you take my course with the RMP exam prep course, I do give you 1 practice exam with it. And within the community piece, I have multiple exams, multiple quizzes, all focused around RMP. And then the last question I get all the time, how do I maintain the certification after I earn it. Don't forget, first you have to pass, so focus on passing. But once you get there, it's only 30 PDUs every 3 years. All right. The PMP is 60. This is half of it. The training needs to be on risk management topics. You can do 18 educational PDUs and 12 giving back. So it's not as complicated to maintain as the PMP. You just got to focus on making sure that whatever you do is risk management centric. It is focused on that area. And again, you can do those at chapters. You can do that online, writing articles. You can do it from teaching. I teach, I can get PDUs. I have never claimed one PDU for teaching because I get them. I want to learn in the process. Teaching to me is just teaching. So those are the top 10 questions I get. If you have an additional question, again, throw it down in the chat. I will get to that, or I will throw it in the notes afterwards. But we've covered a lot of ground, and we're coming up on the end of this. So I know some of you are thinking, where do I start? How do I get into this? Well, that is why I have the community. That is why I have the roadmap training for the RMP. Again, I'm throwing those down in the chat. I will put these in the notes afterwards. In here, again, the roadmap training is going to take you, is a free mini course, walks you through how to go from interested to certified in the RMP, breaking down a lot of the topics that we've talked about here and common mistakes to avoid. And then my community is just a place where you can ask me questions, you can talk to me. For live events like I'm doing right now, I will push out that information there, and I'm going to become a little more ingrained in that throughout 2026. So if you are looking for the RMP, hopefully today I've given you some more clarity on what to do and how to get there. So if you are also interested in my RMP exam prep course, I'm going to throw that here in the comments, and I will throw that also into the notes afterwards. My next course starts on 7 March from when I talked to, from when I'm sorry, 7 February from when I'm doing this right now. And the next course is in 3 months after that, so in May. So from now to then, again, join the community, ask me questions, hit me up on LinkedIn, send me messages, hit me on YouTube, comment on the videos, check them out, see what you like. All right. We are coming up on time. I hope everyone got something out of this today. If not, again, please reach out. I will do my best to answer every question that you have on the RMP. All right. Stay motivated, stay dedicated. I'll see you all later. Thank you.